It's the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers, and that can only mean one thing: another chance to get your hands on Mighty Morphin's first team in the Lightning Collection. And this time, they're remastered. What does that even mean? Let's talk about it. Here's 5 things to know about Mighty Morphin Lightning Collection Remastered. Number 5. Breezy Releasey. So our first team of Mighty Morphin took us about 2 years to complete. We got 1 regular Ranger per wave all the way up to Green Ranger in Wave 7, and that was great once we finally had the lot of them, though some of you may remember from my review that I called out what a difficult move that was for a fan that maybe just wanted a team of figures to represent Mighty Morphin and didn't fancy investing 2 years of their life and having to make sporadic continuous pop-up purchases in order to do so. When the Ninja Rangers were released in 2022, Hasbro seemed to be learning from the limitations of that initial approach and released them as 2 retailer exclusive waves in both parts of the year. It was great. It was the fastest you could ever complete a full team outside of a team pack or a weird crossover tie-in line. This time, for the 2023 set, Hasbro have staggered the team of 6 Rangers over 2 and a bit waves. It's definitely been messier than it should have been. Initially it looked like yellow and blue would come together, which they did, then black and another, possibly red, and finally green and maybe pink, for example. But yeah, that didn't happen. Blue and yellow did make it out together, with some issues apparently in the Australian side, as all their Blue Ranger stock had to be destroyed for some reason. A Hasbro livestream event showed off the rest of the team as early as the 18th of April 2023, with pre-orders for red, green and pink then going up that week. Though Black's release was definitely glossed over, it would come at some point. And luckily it did, with most people managing to get the last 4 all together. Yeah, getting this team has been fairly straightforward by Hasbro history standards, though I am entertained by the fact that Billy's Blue Ranger is now the hardest to find of the 6, and not realising this at the time, I actually sent my initial one back for a refund, lost out on buying it anywhere else, and then paid nearly double to reacquire it again on eBay. Yes, they've done well to release the whole team in about 6 months, but wow, the ones we thought would be hard to find like red and green are currently, at time of filming, probably the easiest ones to pick up. Definitely some varying production quantities going on with this set. Number 4. Upgrades? So the big selling point for this set once you have it is the fact that they have been remastered from those initial versions. What does that even mean? Well, quite a lot to be fair, enough to form the rest of this review, but after paying nearly double per figure compared to the original wave release prices, the instantly noticeable thing, I think, after that shock, are the pinless joints now in play across the whole team. There's no pins in sight, and they also benefit, or suffer depending on your viewpoint, from the drop hips feature, plus the girls now have double jointed arms, which makes posing and holding weapons much easier. The fixed version of mmpr Red's helmet is here, so if you never got the metallic red or the gender swap red and yellow pack, this will be your first experience of that. Probably the best version of it we've ever gotten. I think some people say there's more differences made in the helmets, so I'll just very quietly show them side by side the original figures and you can decide for yourselves. Some bits I think are more obvious where they've been changed, but nothing is as fundamentally radical as the change made to Reds. The civilian heads that you do get, more on that later, are all of the Mighty Morphin Season 1 cast, of course. Once again, I have to wonder if this was the best they could do, and to rank them, I would go number 5, Zack. I don't know who this is trying to be, but I just don't see Walter Jones. It's never been great with Zack heads, but I don't think this is any better. Number 4, Kimberly. We've been sorely lacking Kimberly heads. We actually have more Cat as mmpr pink heads than we do Kim ones, and Cat was Pink Ranger for like 5 minutes, though major credit for Once and Always, of course. This one is passable, but again, it's just the wrong expression. I don't see Amy Jo Johnson here. Number 3, Trini. Pigtail Trini was not on my bingo card for 2023, but somehow it works and it's nice to get another different look for Twee Trang. Number 2, Billy. So copying the Kendrick's Lost Galaxy pink figure, Billy now has removable glasses, which is a great way to differentiate David Yost from his pre to post Australia for the movie shoot phases on the show, when he just decided he'd had enough of endangering his eyesight with fake glasses. We previously had a very bespectacled Billy and a very mature Season 3 Billy. Now we have a head that can do both. I definitely approve. 2023 is definitely Billy's year. Number 1, Tommy. This is a good Tommy head. That's been rare to say, especially lately. We have been spoilt for choice for him, but it's not exactly been an embarrassment of riches, with Tommy's heads often representing the worst likenesses of the whole line. But I'm glad to say that this time they've done a really great one. A good Jason David Frank likeness, a great Season 1 callback. That's all well and good though, but the cynical among you will have noticed that everything I've mentioned so far is just stuff that you'd expect from a normal Lightning Collection release. So what have they actually done to justify and work for that higher price point, other than put them in different shape boxes? Well, the belts have black outlines on now, which draws them much closer to the screen accurate look. Morphers generally have the correct colour and use of lightning bolts this time. You'll remember the basic Black Ranger Zack had a very basic Morpher buckle on his Wave 6 release. That's kind of it though. Tommy and Jason's helmets are still meant to have differentiated teeth painting, and still don't. Only Fighting Spirit Green's figure managed that one out of all the variations released so far. Old Blade Blasters, it's been a point of contention of mine that they only ever did sporadically include more than one of the 3 Blade Blaster modes with each figure. This time, every Ranger gets all 3, even Tommy, who doesn't even use or need them. The Blaster mode borrows from the newer version of Lightning Collection blasters, where there's a hole where you can insert another Lightning Collection effect piece, sold separately. The power weapon accessories are generally the same as before, though they have had more paint added, so that's neat, I suppose. You really do notice it on Jason's power sword and on Tommy's dragon dagger, which was the ugly duckling originally as far as weapon detail went. Much nicer, much golder, much more intricately painted this time. The rest of the price increase, I suppose, goes towards the acknowledgement of this next point. Number 3, it's Morphin time. So this time, the Lightning special effect pieces are all about Morphin time. Each Ranger gets a colour matched, yes, black gets purple, duo of freestanding lightning that form a cool base effect around them. As these figures come with a third set of posing hands, you can arduously, somewhat tediously, spend time simulating the morphin effect by having them hold their open versions of their power morphers. You could totally see Hasbro doing a teenager set with closed style power morphers one day, couldn't you? But yeah, I like that about these figures. Including handheld morphers is definitely a nice idea. It reminds me of SPD all having some version of their morpher / judgment devices, but for Mighty Morphin, it's something that's never been done. So it's pretty great that they managed to do something innovative here. However, it's also annoying to me that they hold their morpher while wearing their morpher. I would have much preferred to have been able to unplug those from their belts or take off the entire belt if they'd used the kind of button-up method like the Shield had, similar to how you can unplug Rita's faceplates on her new version figure. It's a minor nitpick, and I suppose you could cover them up with some white tack if you really wanted to. This visual identity though, I think, is what makes the remastered team so distinct from all those previous incarnations, and it does go some way to help justify the double, triple, and in some cases quadruple dip for these figures, because you can now have one set with individual weapons, one with the power blaster, and now this set mid-morph. And you could use these accessories with your earlier figures if you prefer. Morphin time is just so Power Rangers, and how brilliant that Hasbro have paid homage to that while making this set sufficiently beyond what they've done previously. Number 2, the Shield. One of the more controversial choices for this set was the decision to make Mighty Morphin Red the armoured version, last seen at SDCC 2019's double pack, give or take a Dragon Dagger holster, and Green to be the de-shielded version, give or take a full-length Dragon Dagger holster. This was, in a mean way, a clever move by Hasbro to ensure people would actually buy both a red and a green in order to get a complete Green Ranger figure. It does seem very disingenuous to me when the point is to celebrate the 30th anniversary of this franchise, and yet the way you're choosing to portray one of your most popular Rangers of all time is when he's getting his powers sapped away by a candle. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have that accessory, but I'm not convinced that this was the right way to do Tommy justice for the big landmark birthday. Now, most of us are getting the whole team anyway, but it is a bit rubbish that someone who maybe just wants a new Green Ranger figure, in recognition of the passing of Jason David Frank perhaps, now has to spend about $70 just to get one that looks right when the previous Wave 7 version was only $20 just 2 years before. It's definitely coming across as a way to ring the audience for a bit more cheddar. I'm not loving it. Now, the element of shield and armband removal means that Tommy can share his shield around the team. Zach obviously wore it once, and we had the figure for that long ago. And Billy is a shoo-in for it. It does look great on him. Trini never has, but sure, why not? And Kimberly did wear it in the Boom Studios comics. The shield does look a little bit over large on the female mold, unfortunately, and I'd say the armbands are completely incompatible. Hopefully someone will 3D print some other versions. But it is a nice idea, something we hadn't been able to do yet in the Lightning Collection, and made relatively accessible and straightforward to do here. Just pop off the hands and heads of the figures that you're swapping the shield between. The shield nicely buttons up on the back. Bit rubbish that you're able to see the button pegs push through it, but compromise it is. The gold colour is also much richer and more accurate than every previous version we'd had to date, which also felt too yellow to me. And yes, you can put this on SPD green if you want to simulate JJ, Tommy and Kat's son. Now, I will admit that I've not been having the best luck getting shields that look good. It seems like whatever factory process is being used leaves an impression in either colour or moulding on its front left side. I would say if this bothers you as much as it does me, do what you can to get it sorted now before the figures are gone again. And a reminder that you will need to get your Red Ranger replaced for it, not the green one. My Green Ranger though, I've already had 2 replacements of that as well, due to excessive paint errors on the helmet. First on the eye, and the second one just above the visor. Oh, and once you notice irregularities in how the red diamond has been outlined, you'll start to drive yourself even more crazy. Number 1, the elephant in the room. So I've been talking and filming around this one all review, just so I could make it number 1 in this list. So much does this enrage me, and was such a bad call to make. Because, for whatever reason, Hasbro decided not to include an Austin St. John likeness head sculpt with the Red Ranger. I was shocked when this was first hinted at the April live stream event, and just furiously frustrated when the pick of accessories confirmed it. Yes, the actor has obviously had some dubious legal trouble in his personal life in 2022, but that shouldn't affect this. They can be mutually exclusive things. This was supposed to be a way for people to jump on and get a complete Mighty Morphin action figure team set in 2023 to mark the 30th anniversary, and yet still they've left us lacking here. You would need to track down a Red Ranger from Wave 3 from 2020, or the SDCC Jason 2-pack set from 2019 in order to actually show the It's Morphin Time poses done properly. The decision to not do one, to not even repress that first version head if they didn't want to sculpt something new, was a really, really stupid one. I would go so far as to say it's ruined this whole set. I can't fully recommend this now because Hasbro fumbled the bag at the 11th hour. This should have been so simple. The definitive remastered team of Mighty Morphin. The set that replaces and elevates past the existing ones and invites new buyers in at a new starting point. Instead, once again, we're left without something that should be there as standard. Something that 5-6 of them even include. Something that 97% of Lightning Collection Power Rangers have included. Hasbro chose to make this a much bigger issue than it was ever going to be had they just have put a head in the box in the first place. Thank God the pin joint is the same, so you can double back and use one of the 2 versions we do have. No, I'm not counting that horrific Boom Studios Disney-fied one, but honestly, we shouldn't have to do this. This means we can effectively never get rid of our original, and it's gatekeeping new fans out because they can't get sorted, even buying a brand new set today. Really, Hasbro's best move would be to do a Jason head replacement program, where you write in, as we could for Dino Thunder White and SPD A Squad Pink, and get a head sent by post for all that want it. God knows these figures cost enough. I'm sure they could have repaired a lot of what went wrong here and restored some goodwill. Overall, the remastered team of Mighty Morphin are a good set to get. They look more screen accurate than the previous versions. The additional hands and paint detail helps justify the price increase, and they were a good idea to mark the 30th anniversary with. I'm not super keen on how much more vivid some of the colour tones have gone, which already seemed more vivid than Bandai's versions when we had the first versions of these. But Hasbro gonna Hasbro. I do wonder why they've avoided doing a White Ranger for this team, but I guess as a 30th anniversary set, it does make sense, and we've had so many Mighty Morphin teams where Tommy can only be the White Ranger. It's nice to have a reason for one where he can only be green. Over on Patreon you can check out unboxings for all of these, as well as the Lightning Collection Power Sword. Yeah, Christmas really came early for me this year. Do let me know, what are your thoughts on the remastered Mighty Morphin team? Will this be your first set of Mighty Morphin? If not, is there enough there to get you to do the upgrade, the double dip? And would you recommend them to others, perhaps more emphatically than I just have? Use the comments and let us all know. That's it for this one. So until the next time, it's see you later.